have been up late looking at the election. And as I watched the election, I think I went to bed at 1 or so. They're still counting votes. And Kamala's team is still holding out. I don't know what they're holding out for. Is it going to be something that they're going to do to manipulate the numbers? Because she has not yet concealed. So that you guys could see for yourself that this woman prophesied this, saying that she saw this in a vision or a dream that Kamala would become the next president. And it seemed to be a surprise. So there is something up the sleeves of the Democratic Party, and the numbers may be manipulated. They're so close. Or are they going to protest if the numbers are not correct? Something is going to go on or have to go on for this to take place that she prophesied. But I'm saying right now that her prophecy has fallen to the ground. So if anything goes on, it is a lie, it is a coup. It is
things 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Hey man, make sure you pay attention to this whole video so you can get all the information and hear detail for detail what Miss Celestial has to say. 4th of the 5th, right? So this would be a day or 2 days after I had the dream where the Lord spoke to me, and I saw that Kamala Harris was standing in the dream and she was saying, I, Kamala Harris, am the President of the United States. This is November 3rd, the night of. This is November 3rd, the day I received the prophecy, no more grace. So November 4th, I then saw the huge Kamala Harris with a hammer. So around the 4th or the 5th, God was still explaining to me the ways that this election was going. And it was very early on in the race, and we hadn't yet even caught on how long the vote counting process would be. Yet here was the Lord telling me that Joe Biden would already be the winner, and then he said that Joe Biden would be retired. So I asked, Lord, what do you mean retired? And the Lord didn't answer me. So as I went about my day, I got to thinking, what does the word retire mean? And retirement, we see it all the time with the famous, famous actors, or we see it a lot more in the NBA and the NFL. We're the greats and the legends who have had awesome careers
She's
come
a
out
good
and with their
storyteller.
own
That's why
mouths,
people
they
like
say
her.
that
She's
they are
explaining
stepping
what
back from
retired
sports
means,
that they
like
have
we're
been
kids.
chosen for. It's been their job, it's been their vocation, it's been their profession, it's brought them fame and catapulted many of them out of anonymity
It
to
doesn't have to
great
be a
and global
great
fame.
football
They
player or
didn't come
somebody
out and
like that
say,
that
I
has
will no
been
longer
bought
do this
fame. It
job,
could be a
I will no
regular
longer
worker
pitch
that
golf,
retires.
I will no
We
longer be
don't even
swimming
we don't even
or
need this
running
huge
jewelry. I will no
explanation,
longer
but this is
be
part
a
of her
basketball
captivating
player.
people
I'm retiring.
with this
To retire means
storytelling.
to step back from something, to step down from something that you've been appointed to do. Also, when we see corruption in the United States, there's always a wave of retirement that follows because that way you get to keep your retirement package and not go to jail. So I thought about that, and I also thought how the word retire can be used as a verb. When you use retire as a verb, it means that you're setting something aside that's obsolete. It's old, it's no longer useful, it no longer can perform its function or serve its purpose. So you put it aside. Later on in the day, I said again to the Lord, Lord, what do you mean retired? And this time I got an answer. He said that Biden will be retired. Joe Biden will exit stage left, and Kamala Harris will take the White House with the Obamas by her side. Now, this is the second time that I'm saying that she would take the office, and that Barack and Michelle Obama, who once held that office for 2 consecutive terms, will be by her side. Now, I don't know if she's going to be inaugurated with them standing by her side. The feeling that I got from this is that the Obamas will be very, very close, influential to this presidency. So as God was speaking to me and telling me that Biden.
So this is what I have been saying all along, but I haven't been really talking about it on my channel, but I'm talking about it today. The Obamas are going to be behind this election if Kamala had won. That's why they were pushing. They like power, they like fame, they like fortune and money. and in Illinois, the presidential center. But Obama was determined to stay in power. That was why he was brought here. That was his job, to infiltrate and get in power and stay in power. I believe that he was in power behind the scenes with Biden allegedly, and that he was pushing Kamala to become this next president so he could remain in power. So there may be some things that they have behind the scenes that, even though it shows that Trump has these states and these states have been given to him, she has not conceded. She has been told not to concede. And there's a reason for that. So we have to really pray that this stays and that the enemy, Shakara Woko Satai, does not try to tie it up to put a coup in there to keep him from getting named the president, even though all the segments are naming him the president, elected president. She is not conceded. There are margins that are really close. She is not conceded. She's saying votes are still coming out there. Let's continue. But like I wanted to point out, I've always known that the Obamas have been running the country, except when Trump was in those 4 years. But they have been running the country behind the scenes each term, and they planned on this term working out.
Chair. He looked very frail, and you could see he looked really, really old and spaced out. He looked confused, like he didn't know where he was. He looked spaced out. As I watched, a big, bulky man like security, he quickly moved forward and he covered Joe Biden's knees with a woolly blanket, right? So he covered the man's knees with a blanket and he tucked the blanket in securely around his knees. And then he turned left and he wheeled him off a stage. And as he was wheeling him on one end, Kamala Harris walked on stage from the other end. She had a mask on, and she was doing that two-handed, this is my moment wave. So she was doing that two-handed wave, and there was a whole crowd of very excited supporters cheering her, and she was very well received, with wild excitement. And that's what I saw. So a few days later, the Lord is still speaking to me, still working on my understanding. And He says to me, Celestial, Joe Biden will be declared medically incompetent in a very short time after he takes office. Now, I can't speak to how long a short time is, so I won't claim that. I just know that the Lord said that it will happen so fast. Right?
Like I said in the description, she can become president right now is if Joe Biden becomes ill while she's vice president and be declared medically incompetent, gets pulled out of the presidency. Her as vice president have to take the presidency to term that Joe Biden would have taken it to. That's the only way that that can happen.
It will happen so fast, and they will waste no time in declaring him unfit and making the transition, the exchange of power. He said she'll be in office so fast that it will be clear to everyone that he was only used as a because this is not what they want. It's not what they expected. It's not what they voted for, and they will feel deceived. So I thought, oh, okay, so that's what it will be. They will use a medical platform or a medical pretext to get him out of the public eye, and this is how she will take office. So, right as God said that the Democrats who voted for Biden will feel tricked because it's not the outcome that they expected, I saw another vision. It was a vision of a man and his wife, and they were eating dinner at those little tables that you put in front of you at the couch, matching tables. You can sometimes get one for the husband and the wife.
Notice how she weaves her story. It's like storytelling. She doesn't have to say, it's those little tables that are like this and this. She can just say they were sitting at the couch eating dinner and go on. But she doesn't do that. That's a part of her weaving her words and weaving the spell that she cast on people to pull them into her story and pull them into her her humbleness. This is like a false humility. It's a humbleness that appears real. Yes, she may be a quiet person, but her humbleness that appears real has a fierceness behind it where she pushes the fear agenda. And this is me saying this, and this is me exposing this.
One for you and all the kids, and then the family sits and watches TV. So they were eating dinner. A white husband and his happily married couple. They seemed very happy. They were wearing matching t-shirts and shorts, and they were watching the nightly news. And then an announcement was made on TV, and the couple had very different responses. The wife freaked out. She went, yes! And she pumped her fist in a victory pump, and she burst out hooting, like, you know, the way women go, woo! She burst out squealing and laughing, and she was so happy that she fell over sideways on the couch, and she was kicking her legs in the air, just like children do when they're so happy. And her husband was absolutely not happy. He looked from the TV to her, back to the TV, and he looked confused, but I could see that he absolutely had heard and understood what the announcement said because of how his reaction was. You can't be unhappy if you didn't understand what somebody said to you. He was unhappy, but he was trying for the sake of his wife not to show it. And so I saw this vision several times in a row as the days passed and we kept waiting for a result. God would sometimes say to me, this is Kamala's election, Celestial. And every time he said that, I see that quick little clip, white husband, black wife, happily married, hearing the announcement that Joe Biden had been declared medically unfit. And the phrase that they used is has to retire from public life, will be retiring from public life. Hearing on TV that Kamala Harris is the next president of the USA. And I saw as God would bring this clip back how the husband felt. He felt betrayed. He felt confused and he felt very uneasy. But none of those emotions were directed at his wife. So he wasn't feeling those things towards his spouse. He was feeling those things towards the political party that had led him to vote in such a way and then given him.
Just want you to hold on. Got about 14 seconds, about 5 seconds rather. This is something that she prophesied that I am trying to expose at this point. I have been waiting for the presidency to go forth, the election to go forth before I said anything.
Showed me as this thing would come, God would sometimes bring greater depth. So God showed me into the man's heart. I saw that he felt betrayed. He felt deceived by his party, and he could not accept this decision. I saw that in his heart was this insistent and this constant repetition as he would watch the unfolding news. This is not what they told us. This is not what they said. I didn't vote for this. Why is this happening? Couldn't they see that he was unfit long before the election? So these were the thoughts that were running in a loop in this man's head. And as these thoughts would come, he got so upset watching the announcement that he couldn't eat his food. So there was his wife next to him celebrating, kicking her legs, and in her mind was this one thought: finally, finally, a female president, and a black one at that. Now, brothers and sisters, if you will remember, in the first of this series of videos, when God was giving the prophetic word, this is the exact phrase that he said. And America is about to suffer what he called a surface coup. A coup is when you pull off a transition of power successfully without going through the legal means. So most of the time, we think of a coup as when people storm.
So this is what I was talking about. Is there a reason why Kamala has not given up on the presidency? Now, if something to this sort were going to happen, and this is something prepared, then we would see Biden suffer, be declared incompetent, or die. Kamala would become president. But because of the vote, the elected president should be president. So if there's anything anybody knows about if this happened, is this president supposed to be in for a term? If that happened with Kamala, or if the voted in president takes his time when the time comes to take over the country. We'll see if this part of her prophecy falls to the ground, which I'm praying that it will, and that she will be exposed. And the first thing I did want to say is this exposes her saying that Donald Trump would not be elected president. I'm going to find another video after this one.
The battlements of where the seat of government is with weapons and things like that. Usually they have guns and they execute the president and whoever it is. And then they take power and they get on the radio and say, this is your new government. And then everybody just has to accept it because if you don't accept it, usually there's killing and blood flow. This is how coups normally happen. But more than a year ago, I can't remember the prophecy now, but I certainly will look for it. God said to me, and I put it publicly on the blog, that America would suffer a coup. She would suffer a coup of power. Power would be usurped in the country. It would not go the way that people think. And there would be a transition of power without using the legal means. And so God said that there would be a surface coup, and the phrase he used was a female president and a black one at that. And this is what this lady was thinking. She was so happy in the vision and she was filled with so much girl power energy that she could not even focus
And she's not black. Let's get that straight.
or notice how her husband was feeling. And I saw that his mind was working overtime to figure out exactly how much information about Mr. Biden's state of health had been withheld from voters in order to present him as a whole and healthy candidate so that people would vote for him and not vote for his opponent, Mr. Trump. As I saw this scene, I understood through the Lord bringing it upon me. So the Lord brought to mind this man is not upset because of racial problems. This man is actually upset because he didn't want a female president and he felt that he has been tricked into voting for one. And I saw that the man was nervous about what this kind of rulership and administration would mean for all the other men in America. And the Lord said to me, tough times are coming from men. The feminist agenda is coming, Celestial. Woman power, girl power, times of great upheaval in the United States. This nation will receive a feminist rebranding like never before. Hillary Clinton will be as popular as she ever was, but also many female leaders and figureheads who had long been forgotten and who had long been put out to pasture or who are on the road to retirement. They will enjoy a welcome renaissance back into public life. Watch for the shift. Men will be oppressed. Girl power will render them obsolete, sidelined, and overlooked. The male gender will languish. Now, the word languish means to not thrive. It means to lack vitality and strength and boldness. It also means to become weak and feeble. So over the next few days, God kept saying, Biden will exit stage left. And every time I would see that bulky security guard step forward quickly with a little woolen blanket, you know, the cross patch one? He would tuck it quickly around Joe Biden's legs, put his hands on the handles of the wheelchair, and zip him off to the left side of the stage. The last thing I saw in this vision was that gun sales rose sharply in America. Now I have to state, the Lord did give me the reason. There was a direct cause for this. Gun sales didn't just skyrocket by themselves. They rose as a
I believe this is a prophecy that the enemy wanted to get in the minds of a lot of people to cause them to not vote, to cause them to support Kamala, to cause them to not vote out of fear. Just a lot of things. You know, the devil has an agenda. When God has an agenda, there's two agendas. And he comes in like a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is pretty much what you're seeing now. And he will speak that agenda, and you will never know the devil is who he is, because if he showed up as a devil, you wouldn't know who he was. So he's going to come masked in some kind of way to try to convince and to try to get into people's minds fear and what is going to happen. God said he wouldn't deceive the very elect. He wouldn't deceive because it was not possible to do that in his word. He said, if it were possible, the very elect would be deceived. But the elect are not being deceived by these prophecies. And they're beginning to wake up and not look at things on television and use their common sense and use their wherewithal to say, hey, you know, we've been giving away our country by just believing that we need to be on some sort of democratic path we have had nothing given to us as long as we have been Democrats, but we are put in that position as long as we stay in our place as a Democrat. And so this is one of the things that was being done to us as blacks. But a lot of blacks have woken up and picked their choice and picked what they need to happen in the country to fix the country to make it better instead of going on a certain path that Obama tried to talk to these black men and say, you should be voting for Kamala. You should stand up and do what's right as a black man and vote for her. And they literally dragged him and said, you think we're like little kids and you're supposed to tell us who to vote for? They trashed him with his words, their words after he left in their own segments, and I'll find some of those for you.
Direct response to something that happened in the nation,
Shut the
something
door,
that
Joy.
caused shock and absolute betrayal. But I cannot share that at this time. Let's just say that there's one more piece to this puzzle. That if the Lord does instruct me, I will reveal it. But gun sales will go up. I can actually see people walking into stores and picking up Smith and Wessons or rifles. What I saw, or what I heard, was cash registers in the South, and I knew it was in the South. I guess spiritually, but cash registers in the South, I just heard them going ka-ching, 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 and the Lord made me know that these are guns being bought in record numbers. And I saw a curious type of bullet. It wasn't your normal first blood Rambo bullet. You know the normal bullet that we see that's made of metal. It was this curious round bullet that looked like a battery, right? Not the round batteries for the flashlights. That's how it looked. It looked like a round battery type of bullet, and
And
it
she
had
goes
powder
weaving her
inside it. And I
story.
think that's the bullet for a shotgun, but I'm not sure. That type of bullet was
She
being
ain't
bought
sure,
a
but she went through all
lot.
that
And as it was
definition.
being bought, I heard distinct accents. And I heard very angry voices going, it ain't right. It just ain't right. So this is the end of the prophetic insights and revelations of the Lord that he gave me over the period, I would say, from November 7th to November 12th. Let the Lord be glorified in all things because he is the one who gives insights into the future. And I say that he does this for one purpose, that human beings will come to respect God, that people will stop following every wind of doctrine out there and everyone who claims that they are speaking for God. One of the ways that the Bible gives us that you will know that a man, a woman, or even a child, like little Samuel, is speaking for God is what the Lord says in John 13:19.
This is a prophecy that I said that was in the Word of God of how you will know that a prophet is correct. And this is coming back on her right now.
I tell you before it comes, so that when it comes, you may know I am He. Brothers and sisters, you can't have people telling you, the Lord told me this, but it could go either way. The Lord told me this, but Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the political intrigues that will take place in the government of the U.S. And so I received this word on November 29th, and I will simply call this word the coup in America. There will be a coup in the United States, an illegal transfer of power, an insurrection from within, and after that, Joe Biden will be out of the government and Kamala Harris will be in charge. So this prophecy is not new in that it is reflected in multiple prophecies on the blog concerning the pairing of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I think there is the brick breaker game. There is a broken rule of law. Please note these prophecies so that you can go and look at them for yourself. It's always good to read. As you read, you will absorb. As you absorb, you will understand. As you understand, you will be moved to pray. Brick breaker game. In that prophecy, I saw Kamala Harris standing up as huge as Godzilla. The Lord was showing her, I guess, here in New York City, or it might be Washington, D.C. I can't know that. All I know is that I saw a skyline and I saw this woman as huge as Godzilla, and she had a mallet, which is a very big hammer with blunt ends made of wood. She had a mallet in her hands, and she was swinging indiscriminately between the buildings, and she smashed up all the buildings of this country. she smashed them up. It looked just like Super Mario Brothers, or a video game. Every time she connected with the building exploded like toy bricks and fell down. And she was laughing and laughing as she did this. And
I'm praying that this vision that she saw is what a lot of people prayed and held back, that God would bring another, that this vision was what the devil planned on doing. And she was pushing this vision, and a lot of people began to pray and intercede, especially when Trump got shot, and pray for him and cover him, because knowing that we needed something before this demonic plan came into play.
And then there is the prophecy, a cockatrice will pursue them. And in that prophecy, I think the Lord said that America will be taken by surprise. She will suffer an internal coup. So what we know of coups is we're used to seeing people in balaclavas and holding automatic weapons, running up on the place where the president lives, and taking control of his home, and taking control of the radio stations, and taking control of the main transport lines, and taking control of the TV stations, and then coming out and saying, this is your new government, there's a coup, the president is dead, we killed him, and this and that. And that is how stylized coups happen. But here in America, especially because this is 21st century, and this is one of the most modern nations in the world, we have to understand that the people who are behind this will not be so uncouth as to run up in public with guns and start saying, we're taking over the Capitol. No, this coup has been prepared for more than 50 years, more than 60 years, in redacted information revealed. There's a particular president who lost his life for daring to speak out against the architects of this coup. The NW, you know what? We'll call it the NOW, and we'll simply move that around for understanding. He spoke out against them, and he was quickly taken care of. The Lord actually revealed the two people who were involved in his death. If you read the prophecy redacted information revealed, you will find out the host of things that happen here in the United States while people go to work and while people pick up their children from school. And so Kamala Harris will be president of this country without any form of election going on. Joe Biden will be removed. At first, when the Lord gave me this prophecy in 2020, he simply said that Mr. Biden will succumb to illness, or that they would use illness as the vehicle by which to remove him. And so this is what I wrote, because that was the revelation that the Lord gave me at that time. But as time began to go on, God bringing me ever deeper into his counsel, I began to get this horrible feeling of death around this man. There are times prophetically when you feel something, you don't know the person, you're not near to the person. It happens to me a lot. And I feel things about people that I have not met, sometimes simply by reading their email, sometimes by looking at their picture. I perceive things about them that I cannot know. And this is simply the word of knowledge, and the word of, yes, it's the word of knowledge that the Lord gives, where you can know things. And I began to have this horrible feeling concerning this man about death, which I did not have before. And it was hovering, but the Lord didn't say anything about it. However, today it was very clear, and in fact, it's already written on the blog before. So I will read what the Lord gave yesterday, and then I will add in what I received today. The coup in the United States. The Lord says that we can expect to see rising prices. I just mentioned this. Food will literally, especially the good stuff, the stuff that makes us all feel good, meat, yogurt, and all the fancies, those things will become so steep and so pricey that you will begin to experience what economics calls sticker shock, which is you go to the store this month, you buy what you need for the month, and you take it home, and you go the second month, and you perhaps notice a discrepancy of $5 or $10. So you add that $5 or $10 on, and you buy, and you don't remember about it too much because you're thinking, well, But then when you go the third month, basically, it's as if the money that got you food in the first month is now cut by 40 or 50%, and you're wondering what's going on here. You start to think that the supermarket are thieves, but actually the supermarket are simply reflecting the pain that they are facing when they try to secure goods. And so they're going to pass on, they're not going to hold that extra cost for themselves. They're definitely going to pass it on to you, the consumer. And they can do this because they know that if you want to eat, you buy these things. They can also do that because they know that if you don't buy them, somebody else will. The Lord says that when this woman takes charge, there will be blatant disrespect for civil and constitutional rights. So there is a prophecy concerning Kamala Harris in power, and in that prophecy, I saw her with a very huge felt marker, and she was scribbling over the Constitution. And a strange thing was happening. As she was scribbling over the Constitution, the fine and the feathery writing of the Constitution was disappearing, and all that was there is these large blocky scrawls that she was making as she made executive order after executive order. The Lord revealed at least a year ago that America, you can basically give up on thinking that you're going to be governed by the laws that have kept this country more or less on an even keel. for the last 400 years. You can literally forget about it. If you are someone who holds the view out there, whatever side of the political aisle you're on, I literally am not interested because this is a spiritual channel and I'm speaking from a spiritual standpoint. If you hold the views that civil liberties and constitutional rights are something that are highly prized by the people who have ruled this country for centuries, you would be wrong. The people who cared about running this nation according to the laws that are on the books are all dead. They are dead. Their work, their efforts, their legacy have already been erased and co-opted by people who will rule by decree. A decree is a word that comes out of the king's mouth and nobody dares to counter it. I brought the prophecy here and God said that when Kamala Harris takes office, this is the time that the Constitution of the United States is going to suffer its greatest blows. I spoke of how you can have an existing law that says you have the rights. The Second Amendment gives you the rights to protect your property by using a weapon, and we all know that a weapon brings direct deadly force.
That's my video.
So, Second Amendment, if you're just honest, it gives you the right to use deadly force to protect yourself and even to guard against what the Constitution calls a rogue government, a government that's going to go nuts, a government that will rise. This nation gives the right for an armed militia to rise up and counter power-hungry, bloodthirsty, dangerous overreach in government. But what else did I say? If an existing law is here, they're going to use executive orders to destroy the power of the existing law. If it says you can have your gun, what they're going to do is legislate that you can't have guns in the schools, you can't have guns in the movies, you can't have guns the stores, you can't have guns at the yoga spaces, you can't have guns at the warehouse places, you can't have guns
anywhere. So I guess we had enough. I have. You can watch this. You can watch this yourself on When Kings Talk, the Con, CONV. Celestial prophesied about Kamala Harris becoming president. Well, we'll see. I said she didn't. They have already said that President Trump is president. She has yet to concede. Maybe this morning she'll concede. We'll see if she wants to give it up. So, ta-ta, if you want to finish watching this video, you have to watch it on that station, what I just read to you. And I'll try to leave the link in the description. Most of the times I don't, I just say it. So, have a blessed day. Bye.